Hi, everyone, and welcome back. We're going to talk about behavioral cusps in this video. And this is related to differential reinforcement and can really help you choose what types of behaviors to reinforce. Okay, behavior that gives access to new environments are considered behavior cusps. So anything that might give access to a new environment, a new skill, it enables rapid learning and broader development. And they're all very socially significant changes, so allows access to new environments and contingencies. And they also promote general self-determined behavior. So it creates behavior that someone can start building new behaviors on their own. They're really transformative skills that support accelerated learning and greater independence. And they're super important within behavior analysis. They help us choose the right behaviors to differentially reinforce, choose the correct replacement behaviors. So the key characteristics of a behavior cusp is it's going to lead to socially significant change. And socially significant change is change that's really going to be meaningful for the caregivers and the learner themselves, that will have a meaningful impact on the individual's life and those around them. Every cusp allows us to access new environments that we've never accessed before. So it opens up new settings, contexts, and experiences for the individual. And we'll get into examples soon. They bring individuals into contact with new contingencies. So it gives them access to new consequences, reinforcers, and new learning opportunities. And it enables a new combination of behavior. So it allows the emergence of novel, flexible, and adaptive responses. So brand new responses that they've never engaged in before. Through behavior cusp, we can help them engage in it. And it promotes self-determined behavior. The behavior increases the individual's autonomy and control over their own actions. So it creates a self-determined behavior. These all help with self-monitoring and self-management. Behavior cusps are good behaviors for self-monitoring or self-management. A lot of times behavior cusps get confused with pivotal behaviors, and they are very similar. But it's good to understand the difference. And we talked about pivotal behavior therapy or pivotal behavior training before. So a key feature is their access to reinforcers. The behavior cusps open access to new learning opportunities. It doesn't necessarily opens that access. Their broad impact for a behavior cusp is immediate expansion of their experiences and what they can do within the world. And pivotal behavior generalizes to other behaviors. Like we talked about being able to self-monitor as a pivotal behavior or self-management will generalize to other behaviors. An example of a behavior cusp is learning to walk. That's the biggest one. Children go through these behavior cusps that are really fun to watch if you're a parent, nanny, or take care of little kids in some way. There's a lot of these behavior cusps that people just naturally go through. And like pivotal behavior might be learning to self-initiate. So it's not necessarily that self-initiation is going to lead to new environments, but it will improve other behaviors. So that's sort of the difference between behavioral cusps and pivotal behaviors. They're both great for differential reinforcement for choosing your replacement behavior. It just depends on the situation, the individual, and what you're trying to accomplish with that individual. So these are the big examples of behavior. The biggest one that a child goes through is learning to crawl or walk. That's the first one. So if you think about it, babies in a cradle or in like these safe baby areas like cribs, car seats, strollers, the little swings. And so they're only there. They can only go where their adults or caregivers place them. They have no control over that. And then you do the tummy time to build up their strength. Eventually, they go from that tummy time that you're building their strengths to crawling. And crawling will open the entire world up to a child. It's the most exciting time for infant, I would say. And so it's opening them up to all new environments where they have full autonomy. Yes, adults will stop them, pick them up, make sure they don't fall downstairs. But in general, they get so much more control over their environment. We've looked at brain development with these behavioral cusps. And when the behavioral cusp happens, the brain goes crazy. The lighting up of all those nerve endings just go insane during the cusps because the stimulation is so much. They often will sleep more before their cusps or right after their cusps because their brain needs more time to take in everything they've had access to and seen. So these are all the behavioral cusps when they're going to give you this access to this new world. Another huge one is learning to read. Learning to read opens, tons and tons of information are now accessible to you and you have full control. Before, most information was given to you verbally by your adults and caregivers. The second you start learning to read, you get to control what information you have access to a certain extent, and you can go to the library and read a book. Reading starts really slow and you can only read a couple sentences, but then it builds really, really quick. It's very quick acquisition. And it's this engagement with academic content, it's engagement with news, it's engagement with so much of our world involves reading. Same with using a communication device or talking. Language is a cusp. It's a huge cusp. But for non-speakers, their big cusp will be getting that way that they're going to communicate, whether that's a communication device, sign language, PECs. And so it does give you access to a whole new world where you can tell people how you feel. Your receptive language goes up a lot during that time, so you start understanding people better. Even if you're a non-speaker, when you get that communication device and you can do interactions, your receptive language, which is listening to someone and understanding what they're saying. Imitation skills it facilitates observational learning and social engagement. So imitating something that you see is such an important skill, but it also opens socialization much more. Once a child can watch another child do something and then they can do the same thing, they learn so many play skills, so many social skills, so many things from just being able to imitate. We are not born able to imitate. It takes some learning. And a lot of times we might do very basic imitation, but we need training to do more complex imitation. Joining group play is another one. So once we're able to find a way to join group play, promote social development and peer reinforcement, using public transportation is a huge one for our older learners or adult learners. It increases independence and access to the community. You think about someone who couldn't use public transportation, relying on rides from caregivers, and then all of a sudden they learn how to do it and they get to go to the store whenever they want. They get to go to the library whenever they want. They get to start making all these choices about what their day looks like, and they get access to, say they love the library, so now they get to start making those choices. Why cusps matter? It helps us identify or to prioritize certain teaching targets. So if the person's on the verge of a cusp or cusp ready, you're going to prioritize that because we want to give access to independence as much as we can, and cusps do both of those things. You want to ensure that interventions have maximum impact. So focusing on a cusp will ensure that you're unlocking access to new environments and reinforcers. You're going to help learners gain independence. So you're going to teach cusps that promote self-determinant behavior and generalization. And then it reduces time spent on low impact goals. So if you are not working with a cusp, it might not really affect their life as much or not be as socially significant. So you really want to focus on those cusps. How to identify a cusp? If it will open up new environments, reinforcers, and learning opportunities for the client, then it's a cusp. We have these things that are just cusp. We know it, like learning to crawl, learning to read, learning to talk. But there's also things that might be a cusp individually for that person, because if they learn this, they can go into this environment. It's just how the rules of the school or rules of the house are. It should enable them to acquire new skills, knowledge, or behavior in some way, and it also influences social significance. The behavior should have a meaningful impact on social interactions and integration, and they should naturally reinforced by others. So all cusps are naturally reinforced by the environment or the people in the environment. If they're not, it's probably not a cusp. Teaching them, you want to teach and prioritize the targets, so make sure that you're really focusing on the behavioral cusps that will expand the client's world and provide access to new learning opportunities. These will ensure interventions have maximum impact. Prioritizing cusps can lead to rapid skill development. It helps learners gain independence, acquire behavior, promote self-determined behavior, and reduces reliance on adult support. It reduces time on low-impact goals. So it will help you not waste your time with goals that aren't as relevant or aren't going to help as much for your learner. So an example is you got a 6-year-old who has limited verbal communication, so close to a non-speaker, and is learning to use a speech-generated device as a behavioral cusp. This will give them access to more choices, engage with peers, and rapidly acquire new vocabulary. Both expressive and receptive vocabulary is gained rapidly when we move to a way to communicate, whether that's a device or something else. So, summary, this is a behavior that will open a door to a new environment, reinforcers, and learning. The behavior cusp is a transformative skill that expands the individual's world and allow access to new contingencies. It leads to socially significant change. A behavior will result in meaningful impacted changes in the person's life. It enables self-determined behavior. It promotes acquisition of new combination of skills to support this individual's autonomy, and it ensures interventions has maximum impact. And then strategies to teach cusp might be shaping, modeling, or a differential reinforcement strategy, which is what we're going to learn next. Okay, thank you.